Snug Life is all about the conversations that you have in the pub.
We can talk about bullshit things. We can talk about serious things.
3 childhood friends spread across 3 different continents now.
Snug is a home away from home.
Welcome to Snug Life with Tomo,
Sean,
And Gaz.
do you want to tell us where you are and what time it is, lads?
I'm in New York. I arrived yesterday, so 7 a.m. here currently. So I think we're spread across time zones now, aren't we?
Yeah, so
We
for
sure
context for the listener, I'm in Dublin. It's 10 past 12 in the afternoon, so lovely time for Tomo. Have to say, lads, this is working great. And Gaz, I believe it's nearly, 10 o'clock? A little
10
after 10?
p.m. here in Sydney. Yeah.
There's a man who needs to get to bed.
I won't lie. I go to bed at like 9 p.m. I'm full granddad. I'm fully
And
converted.
you're after a weekend in a tent, Gaz.
Camping. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't. It's amazing. Like camping in Australia is unreal, but you don't get much sleep, and you're pretty much drinking most of the day. Like very casual, easygoing, but you just don't really sleep that well. So yeah, you come back and you need a rest after it. But yeah, I just
What
went
do
out
you
for a
actually
walk.
do, guys?
Honestly, it's amazing. So you don't have phone signal, so you can't look at your phone. You can, but there's nothing to look at. You can't really engage. You don't have any decisions to make. So you've pre-packed all your food and all your booze and stuff. So you're kind of committed to that for 3 days. You're just there chatting with people, playing board games, playing card games, going for kind of nature walks. Whatever you feel like. There's times we've gone for like trail runs and things like that if we've had showers around. Really good stuff. Good for the soul.
It kind of sounds like life maybe before a certain technological device was, which kind of brings us to what we wanted to discuss this week.
So, long story short, the government are under a lot of scrutiny at the moment for their spending, or their lack of scrutiny on spending, let's say. The bike shed, there was a security hut at the Dáil, I think, or some government offices that was 3 or 4 times over what it should have cost. And the most recent version of this is an expense for schools for phone pouches that the kids would use to basically put their phones in, and it locks the bag so the kids can't get to their phone. And the things are like 20 quid a pop, right? But obviously...
That's the business we need to get into, making Ziploc bags for 20 quid a pop. It's insane.
No, well, they're padded. They're padded, John. So that's where you get the value for money. They are padded.
It does lead you to think about 9 million quid for these bags, whereas maybe a more draconian method may have just been as sufficient, like telling the parents not to let their kids bring the phone, and providing other ways for the students to contact the parents if that's what the issue is, or I don't know what the issue is, but like maybe thinking a little bit about it. So yeah, this kind of got us thinking, what was life really like before smartphones and even mobile phones to a certain extent? I think smartphones have been around for around 20 years, which has been most of our adult lives. But yeah, got some interesting nostalgic juices flowing.
Here, a question for you guys. What age are we talking here? What age do kids get phones these days compared to when we got phones?
When did you get your first smartphone or first phone? When did you get your first phone even?
I think I was late to the game.
I wasn't allowed, and I argued a lot for it.
Me too.
As a young, being a little tech nerd.
In fairness to my dad, like in hindsight, I think back to it and I'm like, fair play to you for holding off as long as he could. Like, you know what? Don't grow up too soon.
I was year 1 or 2 of college when I got my first smartphone.
Oh God, I thought you were going to say first phone.
And like that was back when all you could really do was Twitter and I think Instagram was around
Now,
then.
for our listeners, if in case you haven't noticed, none of us have kids, so we haven't actually thought about that. What is the right time these days to give a phone? Because I think it's getting earlier and earlier into for education purposes. I think kids have iPads and that from primary school.
Yeah. Also, if you think about like when we were kids, there used to be fads almost. So like you remember yo-yos, the Skittles yo-yos,
Pogs,
Pokemon
so
cards.
many. And it used to be that if you fell behind the trend, you almost, you weren't in. You weren't on the in crowd.
Tamagotchis?
The social pressure.
Yeah, Tamagotchis, exactly. So the social
do you remember
pressures.
them?
But if you think of that with those little gimmicks, they were things that were kind of localized to your yard or to your school. Everyone's on the pods now. But the phone and the games that come with it and the networking that comes with it, surely every kid is like onto their parents from
Non-stop.
the age of fucking... The first one who gets it in the school, every single other kid is like, give me the phone, give me the phone, give me the phone, give me the phone.
The social pressure is unreal. And then, like, we all know, like, you have your parents tortured to go and get you that Tamagotchi, and they've tried 4 different shops because everyone is sold out because everyone else's parents were tortured to go and get them.
You had to go to Donamead Shopping Centre on the weekend, not like nowadays.
Yeah, right.
It's like, look, would you just shut up? All right, I've ordered it. It's going to be here tomorrow morning.
Just a couple of stats on the smartphone. So these could be American demographics, but 53% of kids have a smartphone by age 11.
I'm not surprised.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me. It's also probably a safety thing for parents.
It
that
is.
they want
It
to have
is a big safety thing.
Yeah, right.
But a
I think.
smartphone?
Because you can't
Yeah,
do
like-
anything without one now. Like, I mean,
Also, you want to keep
we
an
were-
eye on where your kid is. If your kid gets lost, if they get in trouble, you want them to be able to contact you instantly and be able to get through to,
Yeah,
so
why wouldn't you have that?
yeah,
It's
like
available
for the
You're
trade-off
on it, right?
of attention span and all those other things.
I wouldn't be able to, parent a child without a smartphone. Like, imagine even trying to organize this podcast without a smartphone as a challenge. Waking up in the morning with an old school alarm clock, having to call each other on the landline to set this up. It would be a disaster. Wouldn't work.
The average person spends, depending on the country, around 3 to 4 hours. And again, it's demographies and ages and things all come into it, but between 3 and 4 hours per day on your phone. What were people doing with those 3 to 4 hours a day before smartphones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relaxing, talking to their loved ones.
Talking to people?
Engaging in the world around them.
Being present.
I travel more now than I've ever traveled in my life, and I have less specific memory of things. Now, obviously, it's because I'm aging, but I think a lot of it is because I'm in my phone. You get, say, you land at your destination, you're on your phone to get an Uber, you're catching up on work things, your head's down. I'm not even looking out the taxi to go to the airport and just
No attention span.
taking in random sites.
You could be in a car on your phone anywhere in the world, so your memory only really captures novel new things. It doesn't capture those repeat things. It doesn't waste its time with it. So then all you're remembering, or you're not remembering any of that really. It's a blur.
And then you take time out, like you were camping last weekend. You have to consciously reset yourself to get away from technology. And it's interesting to see how human nature, you then spend money and make an actual thing out of getting away from the thing that has apparently benefited your life. It's just a
we
mad
spend all this money on
concept.
tech. We spend all this money on upgrading and advancing our the devices we have and the tech that was available to us, and then we spend money and time trying to completely
Get away
remove
from
ourselves from that. There's a lovely contradiction there.
I love it. I think our growth of technology went from, phones. I would say the first phones, the SMSing with the character count. We used to get charged per text message, per minute on the phone, So you had to actually put your thoughts together in a concise manner to get whatever your point across was. And now you can just needlessly send so many messages. You can be on the phone forever. So your efficiency of doing things, it's not really in your head, is it? Remember, like, calling the phone numbers one after the other, trying to get someone, like organizing a 5-a-side game. It was just on the top of your mind.
Anything. The wildest one to me is leaving your house with an agreed meetup time to meet someone and then hoping they'd be there. And anything can happen to anybody, right? 100%. So you get there and they're there, you get there and they're not there, and you just got on with it.
Isn't that like mad?
So I think you had said during the week, so imagine you're going to the cinema, you're going to see this film, right? And I'll put another step onto it. You're taking the bus, so you go down to get the bus. You come to the bus timetable. I'm sure this has happened to you. The entire bus timetable.
Before you've done that,
changed.
Tomo, you've used Teletext to get the cinema times, and you haven't booked it. You're just heading there for a time.
But then you get down to the bus stop. You're meeting your friend at this time, and then your mom's picking you up afterwards or whatever it is, right? You're getting a lift on the way back. So you're saying, I'm here at this time. You go down to the bus, you check the times, which you've already checked in the phone book, because I think it used to be in the back of the phone book. So you look at that and you go, all right, the bus is at 12:30. So away down you go, and there's your bus stop that's usually falling apart that you have to try and read the numbers on because it's all scraped away from young lads chiseling.
Oh, because it's all peeled off.
There's like a 12 and then there's a 5 at the end. So you're like, is that 12:15 or 12:45? You're like, I can't remember from the phone book. But when you arrive this time, it's brand spanking new. It's fucking shiny. There's a new laminator. You're
totally
going,
different times.
Oh, they've updated it. There's new times. And then you're trying to get down for this fucking appointment. So then you get to the cinema.
Before you get to the cinema, Tomo, your mate's not there. And you're like, fuck, am I late or is he late? Has he already got the bus? Have I missed the bus? And you can't, like, you've got no credit. And you text him, you text him the call me thing and he doesn't call you because he's got no credit. So you just stand there.
You just stand
in the rain. You stand there in the rain for, it's trust. It's a leap of faith. Everything was a leap of faith before smartphones, before proper text and credit, right? So then you get to the cinema and all your mates are there and you're all soaking wet and they've looked at you and they've said, oh, mate, you're not going to believe it. Alien 3's booked out. We've got to go to Toy Story 2. And it doesn't start for half an hour. But nobody got upset. Like, it was just
the day out. It was the day out. You were committed to see something.
So... yeah, you're there. You might go grab a Burger King. How did you and then if you're lucky, one person had credit to text the collecting mothers to say it's now going to be this time for the pickup, and it was like sorry for the inconvenience. That was never part of that text. It was just a foregone conclusion. But even think, right? You head out now, and your friends can move from one place to another, pub, bar, nightclub. Sorry, I meant to name 3 not pub things, but just ended up naming 3 bar.
Showing your colours.
It's been a long weekend.
Snug life.
So, but your friends may not be there, but you just know you have this instant access, and if there's 5 of them, at least one of them will text back, and you're probably in a group WhatsApp, right?
You had patience back then.
But like your folks would just turn up to one place and be like, oh shit, like they do lap after lap, they're not here. And they just guess where to go next. And if they never found them, they probably just had a pint on their own, or I don't know what else. Sorry, I'm pub themed. I'm locked into pub teams.
But even as kids, when we'd go to find your friends, right? Many's a time you'd leave the house. You wouldn't have communicated with anyone since school. And the talk in school was, we're going to all meet up on Middle Green.
Such and such a green.
And there wasn't really a time. It was over the course of the afternoon, there will be people there. So whenever you were ready, you went. And if you were the first, you just kicked a ball against the wall for a while. Then one would arrive, 2, 3, and it would just build until that was where everyone was. Nowadays, you can't even, I don't even leave without texting the person I'm meeting. Like, I'm about to leave. just so that they know exactly that I'm now? Nearly on the way, so that I don't have to spend one extra second alone in that meeting point. I want to be certain they're there ahead of me.
Do people go to each other's houses as much? Before you had the ability to do this check-in thing, how often, consider, right, now maybe it's an age thing, we're a bit older, but I used to spend so much time in other people's houses. I don't really anymore. And maybe the house was where you knew you'd get them, or you had the best chance to get them, the landline, the whatever. Now we're kind of just... We're free agents. We're anywhere, no? Because I just don't.
An age thing, though.
It could just be an age thing, but I'd love to know if there's.
I like that. We're free agents. We could be out doing something.
We could be anywhere.
Back then, it was like, if he's not out with me, he's in that. He's
probably at home, or he's in the Snug.
This is what I was thinking for our parents' generation, right? And this is something I've been thinking about as well, like in terms of like, why is there more anxiety and stuff now? I think it's because there's like more options and there's more shit in your face. But well, Sean's brought his fucking missus off to New York this weekend, and like, why aren't you bringing yours? Like, hey, let me give you some adverts for these flights.
For the record, listeners, I'm here for work. I wish I was here.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Merve. I'm going to tell Merve not to listen to this one, so she doesn't start getting ideas.
But like our folks, right? They'd go to pub number one, and they know it's only one of probably 3, maybe max 2. Let's be honest, venues that the mates are going to be at, and they just go to those 2, and they know they're there. Whereas for us, is it a bit broader? Is there way more choice now?
Yes,
that brings on that stress.
Yeah,
like if you try to do anything now, does it always feel like a bit like, where do I even start? Versus back in the day, your folks would go and meet their friends at a christening or a bar or a mass or whatever, and they just hear, oh, did you hear Tony up the road went to such and such car dealer and got a great deal on a Ford? Oh yeah. And then off they go up the road, buy the Ford, and they get the great deal too. And like, was it a great deal? No one will ever know, because they didn't go around.
They didn't have a reference
and
point
investigate
other than Tony.
500 things and build an Excel spreadsheet and
you're so right.
And back calculate and do the investment calculations.
Is there anything else you remember that's like a iconically different to
I thought sending people letters by hand brought up a point for me that did previous generations actually have pen pals, lads? Because in school, think of how much time we spent writing letters to hypothetical pen pals that didn't exist in Irish or in English. It was part of our... And I assumed as a kid that as an adult, I'd be just writing letters all day. Now, maybe it's the tech. Maybe it's the tech that's changed the whole way we think about it. But did people used to just, dear Sean McCarra, gonna
I think they did. I think it would have been a thing. I actually remember.
Correspondence.
Funny you mention that. I remember my dad I was back home a few weeks ago. My dad mentioning specifically about a pen pal he had in some far-flung part of the world, and you're talking about the only way to interact and get news from somewhere, and that's how you live.
Interesting anecdote on pen pals, right? So Julie only told me this story the other day. I hope she doesn't mind me saying it on here, but I think it was her uncle.
Too late. If she does, it doesn't matter. There's no say in the matter.
I was gonna say
so.
Her uncle had this like family friend from France, right? Yeah. Who used to turn up every now and again, and then they'd head off to France. And like Julie was just growing up like, how the hell does Uncle John or whoever, how did he meet these people? How was he friends with them? Oh, it was her aunt. Anyway, a message in a bottle washed up on the beach one day.
Fuck off.
She opened it up, took out the letter. It was from France. She wrote back to the letter, and now they're like family friends, and they travel to and from. I don't know with the frequency or anything like that, but is that not the most wholesome, amazing thing ever?
That is unbelievable. We should try it. Such a bygone.
Oh my god, we should
try it and see if anyone actually,
lads, and then see what we get back. That could be a segment. I love that.
That would be brilliant. We'll do one from each side of the world here.
we've way more social connections than ever, right? So, like, now if you look at your Facebook or you look at your Instagram, we're connected to all these people. It kind of leads me to think about, the Dunbar's number thing, to kind of root it in a bit of fact. So Dunbar's number, right, I Googled this. Essentially, almost every single one of us only has a limited amount of people we can know and maintain social relationships with. This number is around 150 people and is known as Dunbar's number. So what I'm trying to get at by bringing that up is, we've so much people to keep up with, and we have so many things to get on the online bank and get on the this, get into that. You've so much to do in your week. Sometimes we all go missing, and you don't keep in touch for a while, and you don't keep up with your good friends because you've all these other things to try and maintain. It's almost like you're overloaded. It's like you haven't studied for the Leaving Cert. It's tomorrow. You're like, I should really just read this geography chapter, but you're like, there's too much. I'm just going to sit down and watch TV. So yeah, just what I'm trying to get at there is there that sense of like it maybe having the wider, like there's way more quantity on what we can do and the people we can connect with and all this stuff, but there's way less quality, right? Is that where the assumption we can make or the conclusion 100%. We can make?
It definitely. And I think what's happening now is that civilization, like we've moved past quantity being the thing you search for, and we're reverting to quality. And I'm not sure, again, we're struggling to generalize things because of our age and where we are at life. Mm-hmm. But I think everyone I know has now gotten over the buzz of quantity given through technology. And we're searching for that much more specific, meaningful interaction. So if you look at now, even though Instagram is a terrible example of the quality versus quantity, it's very much quantity, but you do see what people are posting and what they're trying to show is their minimalistic life. There's less and less people that are showing I'm doing so many things. It's more so, hey, check this out. I'm away from everything. And
with family, with loved ones, with friends.
Yeah, because it's
experiences they're sharing.
It's less likely. The more common thing now is being detached from those things in life. So that's why we're seeing much more of people sharing with family and everything, because it's like, hey, I've taken this time out. I bet you wish you could too.
I'm wondering, do you think that could have a knock on other things, like the different worlds that surround us have changed to that short-term hit? Do you think that'll drive back, and how do you see that happening?
I think it's definitely on the way back, because
like, are we going to start listening to albums again?
there's nothing better than say watching a TV show now that you have to wait for the next week for an episode to come out.
Perfect example.
It's such a wholesome feeling. You get very frustrated when it ends and you can't just roll into the next and stay up for another 6 hours. But actually, when you sleep on it and you wake up, you go, you know what? That was healthier. Much healthier than I watched 1 hour, went to bed.
And it gives you that opportunity to engage with your friends, engage with different forms of media that break down the episode, and it's way more engaging if you want to engage, right? It's not for everybody, but we get a great kick out of it now with Rings of Fire, right? Where we're Rings of Power.
All right, Johnny Cash, take it easy. Sorry, guys.
But we're getting a great kick out of it. But it's the perfect example of that, like, high intensity Netflix, like, smash, binge watch the series, and you get like 2 good days of like discussion and chat with whatever about it. But it's quickly forgotten. Whereas the long running weekly slog, like even like I've noticed, when it first happened, exactly like you say, Sean, I was kind of like, oh, this is a chore. And you're not, I struggle to remember what happened in the last week's episode. Now, that's also to do with just how much content there is right now. But now I'm like actively, oh my God, yeah, it's Wednesday. Oh my God, what happened last week? Yeah. Oh yeah, shit, this is going to be a big one. Episode. I hope it is. Like, Yeah, it is. It's more fun. It is more fun. It kind of brings me back to like back when, like, remember like Lost, and you'd be coming into school on a Tuesday morning, and everyone would be like, "Oh my god, did you see it last night?" And "Oh my god, 100%. He didn't type in the numbers. Oh my god."
And those like
Paul would be losing his mind.
Like there used to be like shared moments, right? That you're talking about, like that exactly. You know, you'd watch that show and everyone come in and we're all buzzing about it. And it would create almost a community around the show, if that makes sense, because every Wednesday I'm going in to talk to the lads about fucking Lost or whatever it is or whatever show. I
24.
think even little things like, remember, like there'd be a show on, or a movie on television, like I'm thinking of Hot Shots Part 2 or whatever, and it would be on RTE
on
and
a
you'd be in
random
school
Wednesday
in the morning.
night movie.
There was no like it's fucking 20 years old, but everybody watched it that night together, and then you're in school the next day and you're all quoting the thing. And there's more of it, you know, because it was on the scheduled TV, there's like a whole, almost like a connection between just what was fed to us, you know what I mean?
And you had to stop. I had to stop everything you were doing. So if you couldn't rewatch it,
pause,
you had to
rewind.
You had to say, it's 9:00, it's starting now. And every minute I waste getting to sit down in this moment, I'm missing. I can't pause. I can't rewind.
Did you guys like record movies on blank videotapes?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
All the time. You
right.
Have to give me an anecdote. I'll tell you in a sec.
I remember like lining up a couple of movies, because Christmas was always like the big movie time, right? Obviously your Die Hards and your Elf, two classics. And honestly, I'd have like 6-7 videos like ready to go, like for those 3 or 4 days. Like I learned how to program the video recorder. So like if we were gone to mass or gone to visit cousins or whatever it was, I'd have my blank tape in there and it would like set to record. Now obviously I fucked it up a couple of times, but eventually got the hang of it, which was also part of the crack. Like,
Gaz, were you like a beta version of fucking Sky Plus?
I was Napster, Tomo. I was dealing those tapes at mass on a Sunday.
You just reminded me. So you remember Bruce Lee's Dragon?
Yes.
The movie. So my cousin gave it to me. He had Sky Movies and he'd recorded Bruce Lee's Dragon on Sky. It was obviously on at 9 or 10 that night. But at the end of the video, now I was about 9 or 10 when I got this. At the end of the video, Sky turned into a more blue channel back then. So I got about 45 minutes of porno at the end of this tape. And we're talking pre-internet. We're talking dial-up. We're talking if you wanted to download a pair of boobs, you were on fucking... You know, if to see any sort of nudity, you had to wait for Eurotrash for the last fucking 10 minutes when they got past all the hairy armpits. Or you had to sit on LimeWire downloading, waiting. Like, you'd literally be loading down. Every time you clicked it, the preview would be a little lower. It's still just at her neck, though. I can't really... So to have 45 minutes... 45 minutes
uninterrupted.
Question, Tom. Did your cousin know what he was doing? It sounds like you have a pretty cool cousin.
He might have.
He hooked you up.
In hindsight,
he hooked you up.
Maybe he did.
He was like, "I'm gonna give him this shite kung fu film."
And blows it
I'll never watch. But if he makes it to the end of this movie, he's gonna get rewarded handsomely.
Could have been it, and how I was rewarded over and over and over again.
Rita was probably terrified. He's addicted to this kung fu movie.
It's all about the kung fu.
And he's never done a day of karate in his life.
Talk about putting me into classes and all.
He locks himself in his room. Kung fu, kung fu, kung fu.
And God love him, he comes out awful flustered.
He must be doing the moves, because there's all sorts of noises coming from it. Banging off the wall.
That's classic, Tomo.
Anyway,
brilliant.
What's your conclusions, lads?
I think it's all of the advances and everything we're doing. We've come full circle to appreciate less. So I think it's a less is more philosophy.
Yeah, you summed it up really well at the start, Sean, in terms of quality and quantity. It became about everybody was trying to do as much as they could and get all of the hit all the marks, I suppose, in terms of what they were doing and achieving in their life, and the experiences they were having. Whereas now it's about quality, and it's a way more to do with relationships and people, I think, which I think is a really positive thing.
Which is what Snug Life's all about.
So we're swinging back a little bit.
That's what Snug Life is all about, relationships and people. It's been a pleasure. We'll chat to you next week.